might roll a brand new car, 'cause I'm the unknown stuntman.
Welcome to show number 3 of Travel with a Wise Guy, where we interview other YouTube guests and talk about some, interesting things kind of going on in the YouTube world. I'm going to talk about some videos that I've seen recently that I thought are interesting. Going to go through an incredible viewer comment and then answer one of the most frequently asked questions on this channel. But first, our interview this week is with Robert Morales. He is in charge of Traveling Robert, and it's a great YouTube channel. It's always a fun and positive experience watching his videos. So let's get right to the interview with Robert. So welcome to our interview today with Robert Morales from Traveling Robert, and definitely want to thank you for joining the show this week. And I thought, what I usually do is I read the about info on your YouTube channel. And so this might be a way for people that aren't familiar with you to know what you're about. It's, it says free in my RV across the top.
Yeah.
And it says, we are Robert in, is it Ely?
Ely, yep.
Ely, yep. Cuban born, Floridian by choice, insatiable travelers. We share our RV travel stories, producing inspiring, informative, and entertaining videos, enjoying the journey as much as the destination, sampling the local cuisine, imbibing the local craft ales, visiting the main attractions and off the beaten path destinations, which is definitely what we like on this channel. In 2014, we acquired a small Winnebago travel trailer to explore the United States and beyond. And in 2020, we became Winnebago Micro Mini brand ambassadors. Join us as we explore a beautiful planet. And then on Twitter, in your description, it says video creator, podcaster, musician, which we'll ask definitely about that, and traveling storyteller. It says, and correct me if I'm wrong, it says there's a new video every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. Eastern. I do a video every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. Central. So that's a good back-to-back we can do. And then you have a live stream on Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern. You're up to just some little stats, 263,000 subscribers, which is, to me, mind-boggling. You put up over 1,000 videos and over 86 million views. And the first video I found on your channel was about 13 years ago. So you've definitely been doing this for a while. Anyways, enough of me talking. Does that give a pretty good description of where your channel is?
Yeah, I would say I may have to update some of those descriptions. I haven't done those in a while. But anyway, John, I want to thank you for having me on your show here, and I'm grateful for that.
Also, well, right away you can tell you have a great vibe, and your videos are always fun. They're always positive and light, and I love that. And is that by design, or is that just who you are? Is that something you've tried to do over time with your videos?
My idea with the videos, then the way I produce them, I want to take the audience with me on a road trip. So it's all chronological. When it's good, it's good. If something wrong happens, I say it too. But I just have this great joy for travel. It's my happy place. Just being on the interstate, going somewhere. One of my songs says it's the pavement rolling under the tires. That's kind of my happy place, and the destination is just another part of but the journey is as important as the destination, for sure.
So how did you get started in YouTube?
Well, it's one of the things that I always wanted to do. I even went to college for TV production, so I wanted to do that. I never quite worked in the industry. So at some point when YouTube came out back in 2005, I think my first videos were for my music, which I'm also a musician, as you mentioned in one of the descriptions. And I started uploading videos, and I also wanted to do travel videos. So eventually I opened the second channel for travel. And that's kind of how it started. But it's something that I always wanted to do. It's, to scratch my own itch, my own creative itch more than anything. So... and the rest is history. For many years it was a hobby, and all of a sudden I'm starting putting videos, and people start commenting. I'm like, people are actually watching, and this is probably 10 years ago when it started to hit me. YouTube started monetizing, so I got, I'm making $50 a month, yay. And little by little, it started growing, to the point where I saw that maybe in 2 years I'll be able to make a living out of this. So I decided to quit my job and empty my 401ks and just giving my 100% is to try to put as much content as possible, and that's when it really, it started taking off.
Whenever your videos start, there's you singing at the beginning of a video.
I'm riding in my RV, wherever I want to be, 'cause I'm free in my RV. Yeah.
I'm not seeing anyone else on YouTube that's got that kind of.
Well, I'll tell you the story, and then I'll tell you the reason why I started doing it. I started piano when I was 7 years old, or around there. A guitar when I was in my teens, and then when I migrated to the United States in the early 90s, I played with some of the salsa bands. It was a big deal here in Miami, so I did a lot of that nightclubs. That we started playing at midnight, got out at 3 a.m. whatever. It was a fun time, and but it gets old, and that type of music business, late night, is a game for the young. Once you get a little older, I actually started a little recording studio here in my house. And then for the videos, what happened, this started before YouTube. Some of the stuff that I did started as a video podcast, which back then was probably, nobody watched it, but back then was, I didn't really know about YouTube at the time. And I used something called Pod Safe Music, which, was safe to play on a podcast. And, but once I ported those videos to YouTube started giving me copyright violations. So I'm like, oh, this is not good.
Yeah.
So I, gradually I started making my own music, because I had the studio. Sometimes I got the inspiration, like my theme song. It was right after we rented an RV before owning an RV. So we rented this RV, and that song came to me right after we returned from that second trip to the west. Utah. We went to Utah, Arizona. That was mind blown by all the natural beauty out there. And I'm in the bathroom, and I'm like, I'm riding in my RV, and I'm like, I got out of the bathroom quickly. I had the voice recorder on my phone, and I recorded it real quick before I forgot. And then, a couple of weeks later or months later, I decided to produce it. With instruments and all that, and it became my theme song.
Is there a road trip that stands out that's not the traditional, like Route 66 or National Park or anything like that? Is there anything that stands out?
Nothing beats when you do something for the first time, of course. And at that original cross-country road trip, with my old 2004 Kia, we were roughing it out there, kind of, sort of. And I visited like places that I had seen other YouTubers before me show, like Quartzsite, Slab City. Driving cross country. Once I saw the Pacific Ocean, I'm like, I actually drove here. We've flown a couple of times. I actually drove here from Florida. That's it. And that's one of those road trips, one that stands out to me. And I didn't do so great on YouTube, but it did fine. But just wasn't like a viral hit. Was my Lewis and Clark Trail trip. That was very special because I had seen Lewis and Clark, crisscrossing the country. I had seen memorials to Lewis and Clark and statues. And at the beginning, I wasn't sure exactly who Lewis and Clark were. So I actually bought a book, read the story, did the research, and I'm like, we gotta do this, follow in their footsteps. So, we started even in Washington, D.C. and followed all the historical points of interest until we got to Oregon, to the mouth of the Columbia River. And that was another special trip.
Do you have any YouTube channels that you watch that you're a fan of? I'm a fan of yours, and obviously you got a lot of fans, but is there anybody that puts up a video pretty regularly that I'm going to watch that guy or girl?
Yeah, I watch. I have too many subscriptions, actually. so sometimes I just follow the algorithm these days, just so they kind of know what I like. Although lately I've been researching like video cameras. I know every single video that they suggest is about video cameras, so that doesn't work so well. But yeah, I'm going to your question. I follow like the first people that I started following back in, before when all this was a dream. we're going back to some that made it really big, like Nomadic Fanatic, some that didn't, like Living Free. He's still there, but he never made the big leap plus 100,000 subs. And some people from back then, like Adventure Van Man, Wanderlust Estate, who is no longer doing it. And then every once in a while I discover someone new, like Jimmy and Natalie, or Endless Adventure. Of course, we'll probably watch KYD and Les Youngborn Journey, and I still watch the Winds, even though they used to be RVers. Now they're on a sailboat for many years, but I still watch them from time to time.
Even on YouTube, you can get sucked down a rabbit hole of negativity, social media, and then it's always nice to know I can click on one of your videos and it's going to make me smile.
Yeah, I try to ignore the few negative comments that I get, and I just even when I'm down, because I get down from time to time, I'm like, I snap out of it. I realize, I get to do this for a living, so it's I consider myself very lucky, very fortunate to be able to share it with all of you, and that's the even more rewarding than that. Sometimes I get emails from people that I had this illness, or I had someone who passed away, and your videos helped me through it, and to me that's even better than the joy of being able to do it. So to know that I'm helping people out.
I get these comments. I'm sure you get more than I do, of people that are maybe they're older, or they either can't travel anymore, or they don't have the means to.
Yes.
And they're like, this is living a dream for them almost, to be able to go to these places that never thought they would be able to see. So that's awesome. Well, thanks so much. There's a lot of ways to follow Robert. He's on Facebook. Everything is Traveling Robert.
Yeah,
so there's Facebook, there's Twitter, there's Instagram. He has his website, travelingrobert.com, and Patreon, Traveling Robert as well. Thank you very much. And if this becomes a regular thing, maybe in the future we'll have you back, and we'll keep updating on the travels of Traveling Robert. Appreciate
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks to Robert for that great interview. We actually talked for 23 minutes. So if you want to watch the full interview, it'll be released later on this channel, but it's in the description of this video. There's a link below. So make sure you go down and watch that whole video. It was really interesting. And go on and subscribe to his channel. You'll get a lot of great content. In the past 2 shows, I've talked about other YouTube channels that I watch. But this time I thought I would just tell you about some of the more interesting videos I've watched recently on YouTube that have to do with traveling or history or geography or something like that. So here's some of those now. Karen and Nate recently went to Tunisia, where they ran a marathon with Russ Cook, who documented running the entire length of Africa. It's an incredible journey on his YouTube channel. Peter Santinello was in Hawaii, and that was interesting to me because I'm going to Hawaii later this year. Did you know we're in a war against tumbleweeds? The history guy explains what he's talking about there. Nick Johnson was in Wisconsin and up in that part of the country, did several videos and up there. General Knowledge did an interesting video about the different panhandles in the United States. Noel Phillips was in Australia, really interesting series of videos flying around in small towns in Australia. Joe and Nick was in the kind of Pacific Northwest and exploring all around that area. Our new friend here, Robert, he did some stuff on Big Bend National Park and New Mexico recently. Our last guest, Geography King, spent some days in Senegal and did really interesting stuff there. And then our first guest, Sidetrack Adventure Steve, was down in Texas. Really enjoyed those videos. One of the most frequent questions I get in the comments are, where do you get those maps that you take your marker and you draw your route on? And so I brought one with me. This is the Oklahoma version of the Delorme Atlas and Gazetteer. And these are sold through Garmin. I think Garmin they bought this company, Delorme, or at least they sell the maps. And so you can go on Garmin's website. You can go on Amazon. I think that's where I usually get them. They're about $20 per state. And I'm about halfway through my collection. This is definitely not a paid promotion of their company, but I get the question so often I thought I'd address it here. But if anybody knows anybody at Garmin, want to sponsor a video, the last couple weeks I've done some viewer comments, and they've ranged from being just straight critical of me to hilarious comedy, where I think we got some stand-up comedians that watch these videos. This week is a little bit different, but let me just get right to it. So this comment was on the part 1 of my Woodson County exploration video where I go around the entire county. And so that's what this comment was on. My name is Kevin Dawson. As a child, I lived 2 summers in 1974 and 1975 in Neosho Fall in the campground. It was a wonderful, like a Tom Sawyer story. I fished in the dam, ran amok all over Neosho Falls. Nobody ever cared that I go in abandoned buildings and find treasures or spiders or snakes. I found an entire roll of wheat pennies that all had the same date in one of the abandoned buildings. I snuck out of there with pennies like I stole $1 billion. I fished under the falls for dinner almost every day. I never got tired of eating white bass. Your video of the falls and the abandoned buildings is pretty much the same as it was in the mid-70s, and all this childhood memories come flooding back. So then he goes on and he talks about his father and he worked for the railroad, and his mother, and there's some really interesting, I enjoy reading that to hear about people's background, and gave me some good info about the area as well that I had gotten wrong. And then the final paragraph, was pretty great. It said, "I don't know how I came across your videos, but I know they make my heart ache because so much I remember that you discuss is gone. It's like Kansas, and even us who are so fond of it feel the state in our lives are disposable. The things we did with such care and effort and sacrifice we put into them didn't matter, but it's nice knowing you care enough to tell the story." Man, the first time I read that, I got a little misty-eyed. I gotta admit, I get messages like that often. Sometimes people send me personal emails or messages on Facebook, and I really appreciate it. And to know that, I'm not from Woodson County, I don't know much about that area, but the fact that I can put that out there, and there really hasn't been a lot of videos about these places. A lot of the times when I go do these videos, it, hits people that it's the first time they've seen something about their town or their area on YouTube. So it's definitely awesome to get messages like that for people that the video connected with. So thank you very much. Thank you for all the comments. I can tell you that as the channel has grown, it's getting harder to respond to all the comments. I read them. I guarantee I read them. But if I don't respond right away, or if I don't get right back to you in one of the messages, it does get tough. I am working full time, and so be patient with me. And if you have a real, important question or something you really want to know, if I don't respond, ask multiple times, and hopefully I can get back to you. This week, I'm actually going to be in San Antonio, Texas with Wichita State Track and Field. We're down there for our conference championship, and a couple weeks after that, I'm going to be in Fayetteville, Arkansas, so that's where I'm going to be traveling for work. I'm going to try to get out on the road and film some things for the YouTube channel, maybe in between those, we'll see. And I just got back from a trip from Oklahoma and went through Alfalfa County. So you can look for some videos about Alfalfa County, Oklahoma coming up on the channel. If you want to follow me kind of in real time, Instagram is probably the best place to follow me. I put up story pictures throughout whenever I'm traveling. And so I did that this weekend. So I had a bunch of pictures up there from this weekend. And I'm also on Facebook and Twitter and all that kind of social media. And I just put out my 6th newsletter. So in the description of this video, you can go to my website, sign up for the newsletter. And about once a month has been my rate. Hopefully I'll do that a little more often here once our track and field season gets done. But, a lot of kind of behind the scenes and insider stuff in the newsletter, and selling merch and all that kind of stuff. So there's thanks button at the bottom. There's all kinds of ways to support the channel if you want to. And I just appreciate it immensely, more than you know. And if you keep liking the videos and think that I'm doing a good job, I'll keep making them. So hope everyone has a great week. Safe travels.
I've gotten burned over Cheryl T, blown up for Raquel Welch. But when I end up in the hay, it's only hay.